Star 1978, Star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. I was sitting with Lynn and Lou. They put on a man that goes by the name of Bill Maher. I don't really watch Bill Maher only because I get lost in his conversation. The words don't always hit home for me. There's this concept, for me anyway, that I work off of. I'm more conscious of it now, where I'm more, I call them trigger words, because it's based off of some form of trigonometry and whatever, geospatial. He said this word that I've used before because sometimes it just slips. It's called idiot, but for me, it's idiot is we spell it. It's ID, which is the illusion delusion. It's the IO, it's the person speaking, and then it's TS, which is time service. For this one example, and so sometimes like I use it as a reference, an ID reference, in order to notate a verbal reference that somebody might be making that I'm unclear of its origins or of its progression in argument, based on the dangerous way this particular life frame has actualized in whatever. Then he also mentions something which I always cringe when the Americans try to speak on Soviet Union, because there's some warped version of it, but it seems to be not a like personalized experience of somebody who went through it or knew about it. It seems to be more of a theoretical argument from a different continent of people that want to just push their agenda through like like dough and a spaghetti maker or a sausage maker and meat. That it just feels like somebody's putting their version of Soviet into somebody else's meat grinder and making the wrong bratwurst or whatever sausage, and it's just terrible. So that's why I'm always like, it's like, what do you think it is? All right, so anyhow, for me, I just wrote it out, so I had symbolically. It's the trigger points, it's the trigger words, it's trigonometry, it's the ID, which is the illusion delusion for this one purpose. I mean, other people might phonetic it out another way, but this is the way that I built it for what I need at the moment. IO, and then TS. Time being a patented construct. I have this on my whatever, because at this point it feels like has me in this position of life hack where I've been severely harmed by cyber techniques, and electricity techniques, and almost derailed completely from being able to live and function as part of whatever I should have been with, in what I was built for. In if the next generation is programmed in star programming prior to their entry for a specified purpose, I have what's called an I spine. I don't have a human C spine. I'm deficient of it. Seismically, I pick up on vibrations and patterns. It's a lot more painful for me to exist when the environment is not working properly. I encounter humans all the time that might be suffering from either a knee or a hip problem. They don't know why. For me, at the moment, it's cervical neck. It's the upper cervical vertebrae. that's in pain. But it's the slight vibrations that it picks up on. It's been for quite some time now. And then this is for the union at the moment in trigger word. So now there's a man this is the man I reference, and he's with HBO original series. It's his, I guess, I don't know, is he part of Divine Comedy for Time Service? I'm not sure. As his career. Again, and then has like a smaller, like, week in review guest on. I mean, is that the premise of the show? I don't know. It's kind of if I sit in a tertiary position and I'm watching. Now, what's really interesting is in this particular episode, he makes fun of, like, in the 1980s when I was in one set of captivity circumstances in North America. They came out with shows, TV, what I call TV producer land, not the movie land, or not the cinema or box office. We're talking TV producer land. I use that specific pattern of sounds to refer to a very specific set of sitcoms. So for couch potato. So they mention, the green sweatshirts mention in his spoof or his Divine Comedy, whatever. And it mentions, like, the Real Housewives, where they have on television. This is actually 20th century, so it's in the 20 catalog of time, counting down a biological clock that is not owned by humans, but yet they're part of it, and they seem to be playing around with it in really dangerous fashion, and I can't figure out how or who or why. So the mention is the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and it shows you these opulent, like, really rich women that get their hair done, they get to go to the gym every day, they get their skin taken care of, they have clothes, they have big houses, big vacations, big lives. And then it shows you the real life version of how people are living in the IO, which at my level, I mean, again, girl with the pearl earring hung in the frig. That's the way that I was genetically built and delivered. I was not always I was more swollen than Linda, but whatever, on what the hell are they feeding the kids? And then it shows the real life housewives of the 101 freeway, which is, I got one on this side, and I got a 0 in the middle. And they look like they're under an overpass and homeless, is what it looks like. Also has a green reference. He also said something about the green room. I'm not quite sure what that means, but in whatever. So anyway, and then he also has an argument, well, not an argument, but it breaks out into an argument. He says the word idiot, and the woman subconsciously, I don't even think she's cognitively aware of the breakdown of trigonometry of the word idiots. She flies off the handle. But not like aggressive, passively aggressive. She gets very defensive, we'll call it, for psychological purposes. But it's this dance between the host and one of his guests and their natural psychological disposition. That's a position that's being challenged in the delusion of the illusion. So the D and the I are in transposed positions at speaking, which is DIS for the position that they hold. Just so we're clear in setting a reference and construct for whatever. So I'm going to get the douche. He also mentions the word douche on this particular episode, DOUCHE, which I think is interesting because then there's the douchette, DOUCHETTE. I'm just going to pause this for a second until I find the place so I don't run out of memory. All right, here it is.
They were brought together by the Super Bowl.
My daughter's boyfriend played football in MVP in Oklahoma.
Wow.
Not talking.
How about that? Okay. Great. We're all united around that. So, I noticed in the Super Bowl, now I've noticed this for years, whatever network has the game, they get to pimp for the big show that they think, because this is the greatest platform you could ever have. Like 113 million people watch. So whatever show that you want to promote for the next season, this is the place to do it. So NBC had the game this year, so they promoted their big new show, which is called Bel Air, which is a reboot of The Prince of Bel Air. Now, I remember that show, and it was so fun. It was this cute little comedy. Now it's been rebooted, no laughs. It was not a comedy anymore. Now it's Bel Air. It's about gangs and guns and social injustice, and it's serious as a fucking heart attack. So we noticed that, I guess the other networks noticed, this is a big trend to reboot your formerly, lighthearted shows as very serious ones. So here are the ones coming up. For example, if you love Different Strokes, you'll like this dark reboot. A tiny man-child snatched from the only home he ever knew by a strange, wifeless white millionaire. What does he want? Find out on Strokes. Schitt's Creek, very funny, but there's nothing funny about ex-millionaires running a motel in a town that wants them dead on Shit's Just Got Real. The Big Bang Theory was hilarious, but Asperger's syndrome is no joke when the show comes back as I Can't Feel Love.
I can. It's just not available on a day-to-day proximity.
A Cuban band leader played it for laughs in the 50s. Now see the reboot, Ricardo's Scenes from a Marriage. Bravo takes its Housewives franchise in a shocking new direction on The Real Housewives of the 101 Freeway Underpass.
Has a real motif in True, Not True.
From Finding Nemo are back in a dystopian battle for survival on Fish Game. Everybody loved the homespun humor of Andy Griffith, Deputy Barney Fife, Howard Sprague, Floyd the Barber, Gomer and Goober, but now this town, inhabited almost exclusively by single men, gets a second look in Mayberry LGBT. So you do a spit second. And in this sci-fi thriller, aliens are real. And this one only comes alive with an arm up its ass. Alf, Resurrection. Okay, so...
Now, I'm not quite sure if that last one is about Alf being of Norwegian, Scandinavian descent, because I'm pretty sure there's some reference to a king. I don't know if it was King Alf, and then they made it Alf, but Alf the Red. Again, it gets in linguistics, and I don't have a picture. They don't ever address, this is the culmination. This is like the jambalaya stew pot, and everybody throwing everything melting into one, which I reference as other things at times, only because how poor my level of ability to even trigonometrically discern what the heck is going on. I mean, I've stayed away from it for other reasons. I'm not supposed to be here. There's supposed to be some whatever in order to protect me, but it's been whatever. So I'm going to pause this for a second and go back so you can see the trigger word, idiots, and what it does to the human psyche. I can't find it, but it's on whatever episode this particular one is.
They're really
No, I don't want the
focused.
government.
Where's
To succeed. The time is now. Call 1-800-CAN-LEARN for tutoring and test prep. Huntington Learning Center. Available instant.
It's this one, whatever one that was, as a reference. It doesn't have an episode number. It just has an air date, which is 2/18/2022. But on there, he makes a couple of, for me, trigger word announcements, but my psyche's not necessarily at this point, like, I'm looking for where I need to grapple and anchor with. He said something about straw man didn't show up. I thought that was interesting. Lewis had someone contact him named Michael Smith back in the day. They were talking about straw buying homes. I had no idea what that was about. Again, I don't know if these people are targeting Lewis and trying to get him in trouble, but it sure seems that way. Especially after they already targeted Douglas Bremen and took that away through the court systems in some ridiculous whatever. There's been a lot of targeting of my family through multiple different angles with this uprise of, I don't know, do you go with gang mentality, mob mentality, drug cartels, and the games that they play when they know they have someone trapped somewhere? I don't know. Could be any of those possibilities. I'm not quite sure. That would be a meeting with professionals who do this for a living. But I don't, whatever. So he mentions that. He also mentions the woman that was there, which I don't know what her name is. I think it's Brooke Jenkins, or she was Katrina something or other, Hoovel. I don't know which one she was. But the woman sitting with John Avlon and Bill Maher at that conversation, she mentioned she was with she was mentioning something called The Nation magazine. I've never even heard that word mentioned, not once in my time frame. And in my day label, which is the front trajectory of going from whatever to this version of human. And then there's, and then Bill Maher comes back and says something about Time magazine. That publication I've heard of. I just don't, I mean, Linda gets People. But I don't even read that. That's more of the faces and names of actors and stars and their personal whatever, like faux pas, I suppose. I mean, again, I don't like to get into people's personal lives and their personal arguments, so I stay out of that kind of stuff. But he was equating the National magazine with Time magazine, and I don't know that reference for a union of construct. I don't have a solid foundation of ever being exposed to that sort of publication. So again, I'm not real sure what he means by that when he speaks it, which is what I'm saying. When I watch Bill Maher, I'm watching it with a wiffle ball. There's a lot of arguments that happen during the week over my life frame, that I'm not on the inside of, in a feedback loop where somebody speaks about or on a topic, and then I'm made aware of certain things, and there hasn't been a conversation back and forth. This is the closest conversation I've had, which is the universal whatever transportation community or whatever making message, my catching it with as a wiffle ball, knowing that I'm not sure-footed on any of it, trying to watch it and see if I can do whatever this is called in order to hand it to whomever knows about my situation and just how degraded it has become over the last 43 years into a point where I'm motionless. I'm actionless and motionless, and I walk daily. I try to, but I have no opportunity for movement because they've just pinned me into this situation and this whatever, or back into this position as humanity as a whole in the United States of North America. And I don't know how to get out of this and how to, the way that my marriage was constructed and what I was built for is there is a man who is independently, has enough resource to take care of me and himself and whatever, I don't ask questions and I don't need to know the details. Inside that construct, there's enough money to take care of my physical necessity of I'm able to work out, I'm able to keep my hair, my skin, my whatever in healthy format, and I'm part of whatever. I haven't even, because that's been removed from my ability to obtain in marriage, in like a real marriage, not in like toilet paper marriage, but like in a cologne marriage. Everything has just slid in like a capital N format on my side of the equation in trigonometry. And calcaneus and arithmetic that goes into arthritis type of a situation in origami around the anatomy that currently feels like it's a crushing situation. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxies broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.